Welcome, Gunrunner.
In the past on my channel I've covered unreleased next generation systems from the likes of Atari, Mattel, Philips and Milton Bradley, but there is one very important name missing from that list that had just as huge an impact on the first proper console generation as any of them. That name of course is Coleco. Now you would be forgiven for thinking that Coleco never even planned a follow up to their popular ColecoVision console, because there is so little information out there about it, but they very much did. And it's very much a story worth telling too.
You are the player, and the arcade is the arena. You focus your mind and propel yourself into a universe where you're the master of your destiny for as long as you can keep the trip going. This is the arcade experience. We're ColecoVision. We bring the arcade experience home with games like Donkey Kong with multiple screens, arcade controls, and arcade graphics that let you have the arcade experience at home because your vision is our vision. ColecoVision.
To start this one off, we need to rewind a little bit to the launch of the original system and in particular the many products that Coleco Industries promised as add-ons. From almost day one, the Connecticut-based company advertised 3 enhancement devices for the ColecoVision in the form of the Expansion Model 1, 2 and 3. The Expansion Model 1 is perhaps the most infamous as it made the ColecoVision compatible with all Atari 2600 cartridges and controllers, giving it the largest software library of any console of its generation. The expansion module actually prompted legal action from Atari, which was settled out of court with Coleco becoming licensed under Atari's home patents. The royalty-based license also applied to Coleco's Gemini game system, a standalone clone of the Atari 2600. The expansion model 2 was a little less interesting, but worth mentioning nonetheless. This was a driving controller complete with a steering wheel and gas pedal that came packaged with an excellent conversion of the hit Sega arcade game Turbo. Although Coleco called the driving controller an expansion module, it actually plugs into the controller port, not the expansion module interface, and was also compatible with games such as Bump and Jump, Pit Stop and the Dukes of Hazzard. Now this is where it starts to get interesting, because the expansion module 3 was originally called the Super Game module. Advertised for an August 1983 release, it was ultimately cancelled and subsequently replaced with the Adam Computer expansion. The Super Game module added a tape drive known as the Exatron Stringy Floppy, with 128K capacity and an additional 30K of RAM. This allowed games to be distributed on tiny tapes called wafers and be much larger than the 16K or 32K cartridges the system already supported. 3 games were announced for the Super Game module in the form of Super Donkey Kong, with all the screens and animations from the arcade game now present, Super Donkey Kong Jr., which was along the same lines, and Super Smurf Rescue, an extended version of the existing Smurf game. These were even demonstrated at various press events to build up publicity for the add-on's release. Following on from the release of the expansion module 3 would be a ColecoVision II console, which would include all the hardware in one case, eliminating the need for an expensive and bulky add-on. This also means that the ColecoVision II would take a logical upgrade route and remain backwards compatible with the original system too. This is a similar route to that of Mattel with the Intellivision 3 console and Philips with the Magnavox Odyssey 3 and G7200 consoles, which also took the route of upgrading the existing hardware rather than coming up with a completely new design like Atari. As already mentioned, I've covered both these systems on my channel previously if you want to know the full story. But as 1983 rolled around, Coleco were already feeling the impact of the much talked about North American video game crash. Rather than getting lost in the panic like so many other companies around this time, Coleco looked towards another sector of the video game market that seemed largely unaffected by the giant storm that was brewing. That was, of course, the rapidly rising home computer market, where the likes of the Atari 800, Apple II, Tandy Coco, and in particular, the recently released Commodore 64, were experiencing a lot of success. It seemed that people no longer wanted a machine made solely for playing games. They wanted one that could fulfill all their home computing needs in one place. Not to mention that the technology contained in these new home micros more than matched anything found in the consoles of the time, even surpassing it in many cases. So this saw Coleco make a pretty hasty decision to cancel the Super Game module and replace it with a computer module instead. Not only this though, they would also develop a standalone ColecoVision compatible computer too, which they would call the Atom. This would feature the same proprietary tape drive as the Super Game module, with an extended 64K of RAM, full-size keyboard, printer and productivity software. Unlike all its rivals, the Atom wouldn't have built-in BASIC, needing to load anything except the standard BIOS from a tape or cartridge. Coleco unveiled the computer to an incredibly positive response in June 1983 and promised to start shipping them just 2 months later, which left many people very sceptical. Perhaps even more surprising than this short lead time though was the price, just $525. Many magazines commented that you would struggle to find a printer on its own for many of the Atom's rival systems for less. In order to solely focus on the release of the Atom, all plans for the ColecoVision II console were put on hold. Coleco ambitiously predicted that they would sell 500,000 Atom units by Christmas of that year.
Coleco's Atom is worth the wait.
Everything a family could need to get started in computing.
About the most revolutionary concept.
Expansion options almost comparable to professional business computers.
Your kids will be using it in no time.
Now, Atom, the talk of the computer industry, is even better. So much better, we're offering an extended warranty. Twice as long as Apple and IBM. Twice as long as Commodore and Atari. So command the powers of Atom.
Nothing near it for the price.
You probably won't be surprised to learn that none of this went to plan, with Coleco missing no less than 5 proposed release dates, leaving both retailers and consumers who had pre-ordered the computer pretty angry. And then, when it finally did arrive at the end of October, the price had unsurprisingly increased by $200 to $725, and production problems meant that less than 100,000 units were available. This led to many retailers cancelling orders and refusing to stock the computer completely going into the key Christmas period. Things only got worse for Coleco too, as it was reported that the vast majority of units that had made it out the door were faulty. One retail chain reported that 4 out of every 5 Atoms sold were returned, and predicted that this could get worse still in the new year, after people had unwrapped their presents. Amongst the litany of issues were faulty power supplies, printers that constantly jammed, and surges of electromagnetic energy that would actually wipe any tapes left in the drive. Coleco refuted all these reports, claiming that just 10% of stock had been returned to them, well below industry standards, but did confess that less than a third of all orders had been fulfilled due to exceptional demand for the system. However, they were soon left rather red-faced when warning stickers started appearing on Atom manuals, telling people not to put tapes in the drives until after the system had booted up to avoid data corruption. Even without these issues, users complained about the unreliability of the tape drive, poor build quality, random system crashes, and underwhelming software that paled in comparison to similar packages on other home computers, especially the IBM PC, which could now be bought for less than the price of the Atom in its most basic form. This saw Coleco introduce a standard 5¼ disk drive for the Atom, but it wasn't enough to save the much maligned Micro, with it being officially discontinued just over a year after release.
You'll never finish by morning.
No problem.
Now, command the powers of Atom with professional keyboard, high-speed memory drive, and built-in word processor program, all in one package.
Oops, you gotta start over.
Relax. Adam, move that paragraph.
Is that legal?
And print.
Atom, even a letter-quality daisy wheel printer.
You did it!
Adam, my launch sequence.
Is that legal?
Command the powers of Atom and program your future.
Coleco then revealed that it had lost $35 million in late 1983, the time of the Atom's launch, along with a loss of $13.4 million in the first 9 months of 1984. No final sales numbers were revealed for the Atom computer, but it's estimated that around 350,000 computers were sold in total, compared to over 2 million ColecoVision consoles. So what happened to the ColecoVision II then, I hear you ask? Well, it wasn't entirely forgotten about, as Coleco still managed to sell modest numbers of the original console well after the crash had taken its toll on the market, albeit at a heavily discounted price. Going into 1985, this saw some people within Coleco attempting to push President Arnold C. Greenberg into reviving the shelved console, especially when the newly formed Atari Corporation were pressing ahead with their redesigned Atari 2600 Junior console, as well as the enhanced 7800 Pro system, and other new systems from Japan were also on the horizon, including the Nintendo Entertainment System and Sega Master System. Early sales numbers for these consoles were also very positive, which very much bolstered the argument for the ColecoVision II's release. However, Coleco had been experiencing tremendous success with a number of its toy lines, including the best-selling Cabbage Patch Kids and a new release line of merchandise based around the popular TV series Alf. With his fingers still burnt from the losses incurred by the Adam computer, Arnold C. Greenberg decided to move into board games instead, using Coleco's profits to acquire Leisure Dynamics, manufacturer of Aggravation and Perfection, as well as Salcho and Writer, manufacturers of the world-famous Scrabble and Trivial Pursuit. However, this move proved to be a huge mistake, as kids started to gravitate away from traditional toys and board games to the more exciting world of electronic toys and video games, a market that Coleco had recently abandoned. By 1988, Coleco Industries had filed for bankruptcy, selling off all their assets to other companies including SLM Action Sports and Hasbro. In 2005, River West Brands reintroduced the Coleco name into the market, releasing the Coleco Sonic, a handheld system that rather bizarrely played 20 built-in Sega Master System and Game Gear games, as opposed to Coleco's own legacy titles. However, in 2014 we did finally get to see a revival of the ColecoVision name and its games, as Coleco Holdings partnered with At Games to deliver the ColecoVision Flashback, a plug-and-play console that closely resembled the original unit with authentic controllers and 40 built-in games including classics like Space Panic, Venture and Zaxxon. Then there was an attempt to create a whole new console in the form of the Coleco Chameleon, which was formerly known as the Retro VGS, but that whole shit show is very much a story for another day. But to end this story on a happy note, I should also mention that the Super Game module did finally make it out the door in 2012, thanks to prolific homebrew developers Opcode Games. With 32K of RAM and an extra 4-channel sound chip, this brought the ColecoVision hardware even closer to the MSX standard, allowing games to be easily ported across from the popular Japanese computer. This very much gives us a glimpse into what the ColecoVision II console could have offered.
Playing on ColecoVision in 1984. War Games, the blockbuster movie, becomes more than just a game on ColecoVision. Tarzan, the original swinger, is still the king of the jungle on ColecoVision. Frontline, the ultimate invasion on a constantly changing battlefield on ColecoVision. Congo Bongo, the hilarious jungle adventure on ColecoVision. Star Trek, fight aliens at the speed of light on ColecoVision. The best game in town keeps getting better.
My personal opinion is that Coleco made a huge mistake with not releasing the ColecoVision II. Not just a decision to try their chances with the Adam, but also not introducing the system when the market was reignited, and thus getting a head start on people like Nintendo and Sega. What also makes this interesting is that the Master System was derived from the same basic hardware, being an evolution of the SG-1000, which was near identical to the ColecoVision on the hardware level. There could have even been a world where a ColecoVision 3 was playing Sega Master System games. What do you think though? Do you believe that shelving the ColecoVision 2 was a big mistake? And do you believe that the system could have had a successful future? Please let me know your thoughts in the comments. I'm always interested to hear from my audience. Before I go though, I must also thank all of my loyal patrons for continuing to support my channel and make videos like this possible. However, I must give special thanks to the following patrons in particular for their much appreciated pledges: Mitchell Valentino, James Taylor, Neptune, Chaotic, Seth Robinson, Carl Olsen, DOS Gamerman, and Electron Star Collapse. If you also want to help support all my creative endeavours, including this YouTube channel, then please go and check out my Patreon right now, where you can get access to a host of extra content, including downloads, exclusive videos, creative insights, and much more besides. I've been the Laird, and I thank you for watching, and I'll see you all again for another video very soon.